Welcome on back to this episode of the Country and Cold Cans podcast. I'm Logan.
And I'm Andrew.
Well, today we're talking about one of my favorite artists. He's definitely a mainstream artist, but I have been a big fan of this guy ever since I got his debut record in 2003. I think that he has been consistently one of the best country artists in the mainstream, bringing quality. He definitely has to walk the line between the commercial and like the quality songwriting side of it, but outside of some missteps here and there, which is, common for anybody. Nobody has perfect record in music, but regardless of what anybody says.
He's different than most mainstream people.
He's 100% different. Yeah, and I've been a big fan of this guy, and that's none other than Arizona native Dierks Bentley. So, I know you're a fan of him.
I want to know where his first name came from.
I have no idea.
To start out, is that short for something? Or is he
I don't think so.
After,
where
does that come from?
I don't know a story about him by any means, but that's actually
a
his
bland
name.
last name, but with a first name like that.
That's actually his name.
Where does it come from, though?
Dierks Bentley, the reason I'm a big fan of this guy, like I said, he's always been good at walking that line of being a mainstream artist, of having very, very quality songs, and that's kind of what we want to get into
today. He put out a bluegrass album, too.
He did. Progressive bluegrass,
yeah. Close enough.
Yeah. Up on the ridge.
People don't do that.
No.
That's not even a walk in the line. That's just
the crazy thing was he was on his ascent to being a headliner in the mainstream, and he just stops and makes a bluegrass record. Like Dirk said himself, nobody just does that. But he had to do it to scratch a creative itch that he had. And I will put up his first 3 records against almost anybody's records. I'm not saying that they're a masterpiece to go up against the likes of Redheaded Stranger by Willie Nelson by any means, but it's just good country music. Anyone that wants to try to hate on Dierks Bentley because of songs like Somewhere on a Beach or Drunk on a Plane just needs to get the hell out of here, because the dude has literally so many, just a deep catalog of great songs, and he makes a big impact on me because like I said, I remember I got his first record. My older brother, who's 8 years older than me, bought it, and he let me burn it on a disc back when that was a thing. And his self-titled debut was something that I used to play all the time. Has some phenomenal songs, and it's still a couple of my favorite songs I've ever heard. But today, we're kind of wanting to go into what Andy wanted to go with the top 7, because people just don't really.
It's a strange number too.
Yeah, it's a strange number.
Because I think he's got a lot of album cuts that get overlooked very much, just because he's the big mainstream guy. And a lot of mostly his older albums, it's a bunch of album cuts, and if you didn't listen to the album, you never heard. And I would guess, too, that back when those albums were coming out, I don't think album listening itself was quite as big, because you had to buy the physical disc. So a lot of it just got overlooked and buried, and then when streaming, albums came more readily available, they got looked over because nobody wanted to listen to the deep album cuts was going to listen to Dierks Bentley at that point.
Right. In today's world, it's kind of, we've seen music shift towards more of a single, people releasing singles instead of releasing records, and I don't really like that so much, just because for instance, when people are putting out their record, they release. I get it; it's a promotional strategy, and I guess it works. But for instance, people are putting out singles here and there, and
Whiskey Myers.
Yeah, by the time you and it's cool to get new music. Don't get me wrong, but by the time you hear all the singles, and by the time the record comes out, you've heard half the record. I miss the days when you got one promotional single, maybe 2, and then you were kind of that kind of tied you over until that record came out, and then you just listened to the record over and over and over. If you enjoyed it,
and we've said this before.
Yeah, totally.
I hate when they announce it, and they announce it so far ahead of time, and then you have to wait so long just to get the album, and then you hear half of it, and then you just get aggravated because you've already heard half of it. You've been waiting for 6 months, and then it's only 5 more songs.
Agreed.
To get.
It's annoying to me, because I just would rather have a couple of songs and then just wait for.
I'm okay with the EPs though. So I'm okay with it.
I'm really not, though. Just because if you're going to release EPs and here and there, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for new music, but it's still the same thing. You're just releasing in groups of 5 or 6 or 4 or 5 as opposed to.
I still prefer the full album, but I would prefer the EP over 5 singles.
But that is still at that point they're releasing you 5 songs at once, and then you listen to it, and that's still 5 songs off the record that you've heard.
I still would prefer the full, what you said.
But, that's just the way it goes. But back to Dierks Bentley. Dierks Bentley has consistently, like I said, brought quality in the mainstream, put out just good country music. Like I said, put up his first 3 records against most anybody's, and they've got some certified gems.
I will
on
say,
that.
I don't think Black was a great album.
That's his weakest record he's put out, easily. I was very disappointed by that as a longtime fan. I was really let down by that. And I get it. He had hit that A-list star. He was headlining his own shows. Like, it was just the next logical move for, like, being popular. And if we're all being honest,
Everybody likes money.
a lot of us probably would do it if that was offered to us. But at the same time, it was very disappointing, and I wasn't really a big fan of that record by any means. But
And I think he did somewhat recover from.
he did.
And
The Mountain was definitely a move back in the right direction. I agree. But you kind of like, I saw some people like kind of poking fun at Grady Smith about this, but he did we kind of like got inspired by Grady Smith. He did a video on the top 10 Dierks singles that he, of his opinion, and I thought that was a very thoughtful list. Oh, he totally did.
Yeah, I came up with this idea of my own. I've never seen that.
No, I mean, when we were kind of talking about it, I kind of had this in the back of my head, like, because I remember watching that video. Like, he had a very thoughtful list, and he was right in saying that Dierks has a very deep catalog of quality music. And people that say he doesn't are one, either just being stubborn and don't want to go listen to it, or they just don't know, because it's there to go listen to. Or you're just gonna be one of those jackasses that doesn't like it because it's somebody from the mainstream and you won't give it a chance. Like, no, get over yourself.
You burst my bubble. I really thought I came up with this idea.
Sorry.
I came up with this idea a long time ago, though.
Oh, yeah. You did mention it a while back, even before he released that. But he did release that recently.
We should have done the same for that.
Yeah.
We got beat.
Yeah, well, you've been on the road for a while, so. But anyways, I guess we'll dive into our list. I mean, since it was your idea
We started
for
at
our
7.
podcast, yeah, you take it away.
I got Draw Me a Map at 7 off of Up on the Ridge. It's just cleverly written, right? I guess you would say. And I just the way it's written just really draws me in.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So I actually had Draw Me a Map at number 6 for me, and I agree with you on that. Draw Me a Map was off his quote unquote progressive bluegrass album. Had a lot of well respected pickers on that, like McCrory's, and he also had help from some of country music's better mainstream artists like Chris Stapleton and Miranda Lambert. Covered a U2 song in an interesting way. He also covered a Chris Christopherson song. I believe Christopherson sang on that. I can't remember, but I think he did.
I think so.
But Draw Me a Map in itself was one that he wrote. Dierks actually wrote this one, and it's a very clever song. Like, it was something that I haven't really heard, but it's like, for folks that haven't heard it, the hook of the song is "Draw me a map that leads me back to you."
Chris Christopherson was on this.
Bottle to the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, thought so. But yeah, draw me a map that leads me back to you. Like, that's it. You hear the angst and the I guess just the yearning in his voice of wanting to get back a former lover, and that just it really captivates you when you listen to the song. So I agree. You had it at 7, I had it at 6.
And there's a lot of things I don't have much to say about Dierks songs,
Right.
other than it's just good.
It is,
It's
yeah.
nothing spectacular, but it's just good.
And Dierks
it's just good writing.
Dierks is one of those guys that has a few themes that he's consistently sang about, and he does them well. And I have kind of a running theme here on my list that I'll get into, but yeah, I agree. Draw Me a Map is a phenomenal song. We both have it on our list.
All right, what do you got
6.
for 7?
7 for me, it was one of the only ones I had off of one of his more recent records. It was off of 2014's Riser. It was a song called Damn These Dreams. And Damn These Dreams,
I want to put that
I
in mine.
love that song. It was funny story about that. When he wrote that, he's friends with Bono, of all people, and U2. And Dierks says, how cool is it that I'm friends with Bono? But he was like, he recorded it on I can't remember if he just did an iPhone message or a demo, or it might have been a demo, but he thought the song was unfinished. He thought it was too rough. Well, he sent it to Bono and says, what do you think? I think I need to add something to this, polish it up. And then Bono says, no, this is a work of art right here. You need to keep it as it is. So he kind of kept the rougher version, more stripped back. But Damn These Dreams is a song about, the opening line. I love it. He goes, I remember hearing Hank on the radio. Hank on the radio, the first time felt like falling in love. That was kind of how I felt about when I really kind of got into music, how I felt about some of my favorite artists. It's a feeling that you can't really explain, and the best probably analogy I've heard somebody say is it is kind of like falling in love. It's something that you can't explain why you love it, but you do, and it's something that's a big part of you. And that song kind of it follows the trajectory of him being a young man listening to Hank Jr. on the radio, stealing some smokes from his dad, wanting to play music to eventually, he said it was all fun and games till the little ones came, talking about his kids. And then it makes his heart bleed now that he has to leave. So damn these dreams, but he still has to keep on trucking. I mean, it kind of goes in with that theme of him being a drifter.
That's one of the ones that I did want to put in there.
Right.
But so you got Draw Me a Map at 6.
Draw Me a Map at 6 for me.
I got The Mountain at 6.
Okay, that's interesting. So why?
I think because it's different of a theme of a song that you don't hear in country music genre very much. It's a very positive, work very hard all the way to the top song.
Right.
And I think most of the time the themes in country music is you hear work hard, but it's generally about working at a blue collar job.
Yeah.
In a sense. But it's more, you never hear the song.
I guess it makes sense for Dierks to sing about that. Yeah.
Going all the way to the top of whatever, period. It's not something you hear very often.
Yeah.
It's a very uplifting song, very Tom Petty on the instrument.
The guitar sounds very Petty. Like, I thought that when I heard the little snippet when he was advertising the album.
It's a different writing premise than what you hear a lot. It's different.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's not something you hear in country.
I guess it makes sense for Dierks to sing about stuff like that now because it's been quite a few years since he's been a blue collar middle class guy.
Yeah.
He's been making some serious coin lately.
Yeah, but still everybody else. Like even musicians, that's not what they sing about. Like I know even for example, like Evan Felker sang a lot about his time when he worked at I think he was a paper mill.
Right.
And it never goes like they don't sing about playing music like big shows and stuff like that. Nobody ever sings about that.
Oh yeah.
With the very positive. It's a little bit the opposite of what you said on Damn These Dreams, though. Yeah. It's more about, hey, work till you get to this point.
I agree. All right, so you had that at 6. So where'd you have at 5?
I got settled for a Slow Down at 5.
Oh, I wanted to include that on my list so bad, but I ended up having it.
I might have cheated a little bit on it making the list because I factored in the music video.
See, that's the reason I left it out. And the song is good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a cool lyric. Like, he knows that it's too far gone for him and his girl. He sees her leaving. And he knows she's not coming back, but he just wants her to. He just wants to see a little bit of hesitation. He wants her to hit the brake lights just a little bit. He'd settle for a slowdown.
And if you haven't seen the video,
and that's the reason I didn't.
She goes it on off there to L.A. and then she's with her new rich man and all that stuff. Dierks walks in with his guitar in a case, and just in the video, it cuts to him just standing there in the kitchen playing it acoustically.
And it's not like the studio version; it's actually him playing it acoustically, and he plays the chorus. Your wheels just turned down the road ahead, and then it goes into the hook of he'd settle for a slow down. Then he just kind of packs up and leaves. It's an awesome video.
I think I cheated a little bit though. I'm putting that in there, but that's
we didn't set any rules.
That is the reason it made it was because of that. Because I for the same thing. For the reason other songs I wanted to put in here.
For the reason you included it was the reason I left it out because I love the music video so much and I really like the song, but I don't know if I would like them more in conjunction than I do separately. So I'm totally with you on that. It's a good combo.
I could have picked more than one song to take that slot, and that's what gave it its edge.
Yeah.
What do you got at 5?
So at 5 for me, I went for a album cut off of, I believe it was his third album, Long Trip Alone. It's a song called Soon As You Can. I don't know why this song always has resonated well with me, but As Soon As You Can is a song about how it's one of the more positive, uplifting songs that I have on my list because typically I like bummer jams. I'm a sad song kind of guy. But this one is he left the sun sinking low in California. He was supposed to only stay there for 2 weeks. But he is trying to get back to his woman because when you love somebody, you can't wait to start the rest of your life as soon as you can. And that song just I love the instrumentation on it. The sound of it is very early Dierks Bentley career. And I was, like I said, I'm a huge fan of his first 3 records. And there was one time in particular, it's kind of for the same reason you kind of loved the music video. This didn't have a music video, but I remember back years ago, I saw an acoustic version of him singing the song, and then I noticed he was wearing a Lincoln Theater T-shirt from Raleigh, North Carolina, which I thought was cool, but that's, I guess, neither here nor there. I guess
you somewhat got the same thing.
Yeah,
you got certain songs that you could interchange for this equally, totally, but you had to pick one.
You had to pick one, and I think that some of these, whenever you're talking about how much you love a song, it depends on what the, as Eric Church would say, the melody connected with a memory, where it takes you back to when you heard it, how it made you feel. feel
Yep.
like what it got you through. And I think that's kind of like you and I both have kind of hit the nail on the head on why we picked a couple of these songs. It was because of something that how we remember listening to it the first time. I mean, music does that, and it transports you. It's one of the few things that can transport you back in a time, you know?
Yeah. All right, so you have that at 5. What do you have at 4?
At 4, I went for another early Dierks Bentley song called Down on Easy Street. And this is one that it's definitely a sad song once you get past it, but it's one of those songs that it doesn't sound sad at first. He's like, I guess you heard I'm doing well, struck it rich to hear some folks tell. And it's like, but I'm still the same old me down on Easy Street. And then you get into the chorus and you realize that he's really just kind of sad. He's at home, he's drinking wine, just him alone, like just him and the telephone kind of thing. Like he's sad, and he misses his significant other. I mean, so he's yearning for her. Another thing, like I said, he has this angst in his voice. But Down on Easy Street made it at number 4 for me.
I've got So Long at 4.
Oh, that's a fun song.
It's fun. It's not bad written. It just makes you so happy when you hear it. Because some of the lyrics, like
right,
it's like
wrong.
It's so entertaining the way it's sang.
That's a fun.
It's something
yeah.
When the cats are basically stepping out on him at the club, and he's like, and then like the way he goes off on the
so you like, think I'm gonna let it slide when you're flashing me those puppy dog eyes?
Somebody's probably actually even said the thing,
probably.
like he said it, and I mean it's just so relatable.
Oh, totally.
It's such a relatable, and like it's not intricate or nothing, but it's just relatable.
Right.
It's fun. The way it sounds, it just gets you upbeat and makes you smile, even though it's about your lady stepping out on you.
I agree with you. It's kind of like you said when you and I were kind of discussing this off audio before we start recording. Like it's one of those things that kind of everybody, if you ever got put in that position, you kind of just want to say that to somebody. It's kind of like a nice way to say F you.
And I enjoy it so much. I just couldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
I could not have it in there.
So that was number 4 for you. What about number 3?
Number 3, I have Forget About You.
So do I.
Well.
There we go. Same one for number 3. Yeah, but Forget About You is awesome. It's one of the first songs.
I did just change that from 4.
Did you? Oh, you moved it up one?
I changed my mind, yeah.
That's off his debut record, self-titled debut record. The one with him sitting back with his now deceased, rest in peace, Jake, his dog, on the cover. And Forget About You is one of those early songs that when I was a little kid listening to this record that I really gravitated to. I guess it's kind of like another sense of one of those FU kind of songs. He's like, my mind might, he might lose his mind, but he'll forget about you. It's just such a fun song. The guitar.
I've got it in here though, somewhat a little bit of a different. I got it in here because of the mount, because it's a very different. That a lot of people, as it says in here, I've heard what was the exact word because I have the lyrics right here. So I heard that old Jones song just the other day about a man that took a broken heart to it. That's how most people.
But I'll be damned if a memory's going to lay me down.
The country music genre write songs about when the breakup. They either do that. They drink themselves. They do all this stuff. He says he ain't doing none of that.
He might lose his mind, but
he might go crazy. You. But you don't hear that very often.
No.
It's different. And plus, too, like right when he rolls in, like for some reason that way he does the rolling into the chorus. Right. Just draws you into it. Yeah, sounds good.
I've lost weight and I've lost hair.
Like nobody else says like It's like everybody else goes to drinking. They do all this stuff, and he says I ain't doing it.
Yeah,
but or they say, well, I'm just never going to get over you. All this stuff. And he said,
Man,
I'm getting over you.
He said, look, I may miss you, but I'm getting over you, because he was like, ain't no woman going to hold me down. But yeah. So we both had that at number 3.
All right, the back side of the top 3. So what do you got at 2?
At 2, this was arguably one of my favorite Dierks Bentley songs of all time. Obviously, I mean, we're talking about our favorites, but
shocker here. The second song on the list is your second favorite all time.
But it's from his debut record. It's a song called "Wish It Would Break," and
I want to put it on top.
He's talking about all these things that remind him. Like he wants to throw away the picture on the wall. He wants to break the radio because it just always reminds him of his former love interest, but he can't get rid of him. So he just wishes it would break. And funny about that, he wanted to release that as his debut single, but the label wouldn't let him, and instead they went with what's the name of it? That really up-tempo song, that we both talked about, we really liked, but we didn't include on here. His very first single. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
How Am I Doing?
No. It was the very first single.
I don't know what the first single was off of that.
What Was I Thinking?
Oh yeah,
That was his very first
I didn't
single
think we
ever.
talked
It
about
went it went number one, and that's what their label decided to release instead, which is a phenomenal song. But he wanted to release "Wish It Would Break." He wanted to send one of those sad bastard of a song to radio. But he that's probably my number two is "Wish It Would Break," just because like I think the songwriting is really really like good on this song. It's different in that he's not just saying, "Oh, I miss her. I'm sitting here alone," like you were saying about the last thing. He's saying that these things remind me of you, and I want to get rid of them, but I can't. So I just wish it would break. I wish you'd give me
same thing.
Someone give me a
Like,
reason to
forget
get rid
about
of
you
it.
on Starfire in July.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's the same premise.
It's
premise.
it's got a similar familiar story, but it's presented in a different fashion, and I think there's something to be said when songwriters do that.
I have basically this for number two. I have "Say You Do," which is
Okay,
basically
yeah.
the same situation, but the opposite approach to that.
Right.
It's like that
Off
song.
of 2014's Riser.
It's got so much
single, I believe.
desperation in that song, and logically, it makes zero sense.
Yeah, and well,
Like, when you
Dierks-
think about it from a logical standpoint in the song, like that doing that does not really make any sense.
Yeah.
But
Vocally-
it's so desperate.
vocally,
That's where
Dierks
you
does desperation and angst very well.
Yeah, and that's it. Just
And
the
it's a very good
desperation
song.
of that just makes it
Oh,
that
totally,
great.
Totally. All right, so that was your number two. That was my number two. What was your top Dierks Bentley song?
Number one was the easiest one to pick because
Yeah,
I've
same
always
here.
known what number one was.
I've always
there
picked
was
this
no
one, too.
question on that. I got gonna get there someday.
Phenomenal song.
I just think that's one of the saddest songs I've ever heard because the change at the end where he talks about the stroke, because it also incorporates "Damn These Dreams" too. Because he said,
Yeah,
"I got
yeah.
the job I've been dreaming of,"
Yeah.
and he talks about it, but it's always hard being gone. He's just talking about his life
Yeah.
and all that, and then because he's not that hey, because he said what's that line? He said, "I wish I wouldn't feel so bad about myself when I pray," and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And he's really just. It sounds like he's doing great on the outside of the thing, but he's really not.
Yeah.
But at first, to me, it just the change, the unexpected ending is what got me.
The twist
too.
in the end is phenomenal.
Because
I
the
remember
whole
the first time I heard it.
thought he was just talking about his life, and then you're like, oh, he's talking about how he's doing after an ex, and then it's like, oh, like maybe his wife left him, and then it's
Or
like
maybe his wife died.
and then it's like because it's like the progress I went, and then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, his wife died. And then at the end, he says "Mama," and I'm like, I didn't see that
And
coming.
it brings
and then
a whole
makes
new
it so sad.
it brings a whole new perspective to the song too when he's talking about how like he met someone new. Wouldn't you know it? She's a whole lot like you, because they always say people end up finding somebody that's similar to your mother.
Like to me, it's just that song is so sad, and
Yeah.
then the fiddle right after that, just makes it even sadder. It's just so sad.
It's a very
but
good
it's
song,
so well written.
It's one of those things you have to. It wouldn't have ever made it done well on the radio because it's one of those things.
No, because it's really sad.
Well, it's not only that. Like it's a slow burn. It's not a hooky song. You have to you have to really wait till the end for the payoff.
Yeah, and I think if you had this on public radio, you'd have a bunch of people, getting in car wrecks as they're crying and shit.
Maybe, but so that's your number one.
Easy, hands down. Wasn't even a
So
competition.
my number one was very easy for me to pick too, and it's been my favorite Dierks Bentley song for a long, long time. Used to not always be, but it has been for a while.
Paul, or one more point on that. Actually, the reason I wanted to do this whole list of Dierks Bentley is because I want to
'Cause
talk
I'm
about
gonna-
my number one.
Because I'm gonna get you.
Yep.
Gonna get there
All
someday.
right, what's number one?
So number one for me is off of Long Trip Alone, and it is Trying to Stop Your Leaving. It was a radio single, did pretty well on radio, but it's such a phenomenal song in my mind. The opening of that song, just the trading between guitar licks and the pedal steel, like alternate before the song starts, and it's phenomenal to listen to. I really love it, and I just love how it's another one of those things where you hear the angst in his voice
And
how
like the way he does trying. And
Yeah.
exactly what you said before.
like he's just like he's really missing, his significant other, but he was trying to stop her leaving, but he couldn't. I mean, it's one of those songs that people can we've all been there at some point in our lives in some form or fashion. It's a very relatable song, and if you throw in like the quality songwriting, the cool story, along with, like I said, the alternating guitar licks with the pedal steel, it just mashes up into my favorite Dierks Bentley song, easily, hands down.
Well, that was a very happy number one slot.
I know, right? Well, most of my number ones were not always the happiest of affairs. I mean, Like there's just something there's something to be said for sad songs because it's the realest emotion that everyone has gone through. And there are two types of folks. There's people like me that I like to listen to sad songs all the time, even not just when I'm sad, but also just anytime because it's like everyone can relate to it. It's just a real emotion. Then there's folks that want to use music as an escape, so they rather go listen to the Chainsmokers play their computer music instead of listen to something that's real. No offense to the
Do the Chainsmokers have a song
people
out
I know
yet
that listen
about
to
White
it,
Claws?
Ain't no laws when you're drinking the claws. But yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely a Bummer Jam proponent.
Yeah, I've always liked them.
I mean, sad songs.
Because, it's the same thing. I don't think they're Bummer Jams. I just don't ever think of them as sad.
Yeah, I mean, the songs are definitely sad.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't ever think of it that way.
I mean, but
they're like some of you listen to certain songs. They're like, oh, this is so sad. It's like, hey, this song is my number one. It's like, hey, this song's about talking to your dead mom. I'm like, oh well, yeah, it's sad. It's really sad,
but it's a cool story.
It's a good story, man.
Well, for this episode, we if anybody has any feedback, reach out to us. Let us know what your favorite Dierks Bentley songs are. If you haven't heard some of his songs, I definitely recommend you go check them out because if all you know is Dierks as the drunk on a plane guy, you're really doing yourself and him a disservice. If you think our
number ones are bad, you're just wrong.
Because trust me, like while I'm maybe a little bit more friendly to some mainstream country, Andy definitely is not. So he is even vouching for Dierks here. Definitely go check him out because he's got such a deep catalog of good songs. And so, yeah, go check that music out. Let us know what your favorite Dierks Bentley songs are. And don't forget to go and on the Spotify and Apple and give us a good review if you like it. If you don't like it, still give us a good review.
Yeah.
Give us 5 stars.
Give us a follow.
Yeah. Share the podcast. We want to try to grow this son of a gun and get a bigger audience. So we
do it if you want to. If you're not, don't do it.
Yeah, or just do it, even if you don't like it. But we got some cool things coming in the pipeline, new types of formats for shows that we've been talking about, some new guests I've been talking about trying to get on the show, trying to get these things to materialize. So it'll be kind of some cool content we're going to have. But, that'll cover it for me with the old Dierks Bentley topic today.
Yep, and we'll be back to you. Or at least I'll be back to you. Maybe we can get Logan to drill one out and be back to you at the start of NC State football.
That's right. We got football season coming up August 31st. Go Pack. We're going to beat down the East Carolina Pirates. So, all right. That's it for
rock and roll. I got to go to Detroit.
Yeah, I got to just clean the house now because I've been putting it off all week. But anyways, that's it for this episode of Country and Cold Cans. I'm Logan.
I'm Andrew.
See you next time.
Rock and roll.